Hi everyone, welcome to another AnyDB video tutorial. In this video, we will extend our invoicing system that we built previously in part 1 of the video. And if you're new to AnyDB, AnyDB is a unified and customizable data platform for business operations. You can get more details at anydb.com. All right. Previously, we built an invoicing system and a dashboard using this kind of structure. We had an invoice dashboard with a lot of invoices beneath them. And if you looked at AnyDB, that's how it looked like. They had the invoicing dashboard, and you had all of these invoices attached to the dashboard. You could also see the count and the totals and so on from these invoices. And if I open up an invoice, that's how an invoice would look like in AnyDB. So in this video, we're going to try to extend this and to start making it more useful for real-world operations. And the first thing we're going to do is, if we go back to our invoice, we're going to want to have the ability to select a customer from a list of customer records in the to instead of having to type in the data. And then again, in the item section, we want to have the ability to type in a product or an existing product from a product list, and then it automatically populates the price from the list. So to do that, what we're going to do is create two types of new records in AnyDB. The first one is a customer record, and it's a very simple one. We're going to have a name, an address, an email, and a phone associated with the customer. And then we're going to have a product record, in this case, a product name, the price of the product, the description, and maybe an optional code. So let's see how to build this first. So first thing we're going to do is to build a customer record followed by a product record. All right, first we're going to try to create a customer template. And to create a new template, we go to the database and then click on new. And in the options, we select a new template. And in this case, we're going to build a template from scratch. And we could have used AI, but I'm going to use the manually created option just to show how it's done. So let's select this option, and we'll create a new template. And we open up the familiar spreadsheet editor view for creating a template. So all you're going to do is just create some spreadsheet cells for how your template is going to look like. And in this particular case, let's go back and refer to what we need in this case for our customer. So if you go by the customer, it's a very simple customer record. We have a name, an address, an email, and a phone. And you can always add more, but in this particular case, let's start with a very simple data record. So going back to our template, let's first select the top row and merge them. And I'm just going to put a banner here just to make this look a little bit prettier. So let's call this customer, make this bolder, make this a little bigger, and let's make the background, let's say a color like that, and center aligned. And let's lock the record. As I talked before, we lock the record if you don't want that to be an editable field. All right, let's put the name, and I'm going to put the label as a name. And since the name of a customer could be really long, let's make this span 2 columns. And in fact, we could even make it span the whole 4 columns. All right, next is we're going to have an address, and let's do the address. And in this one, it's going to be a very simple address. I'm going to make this again a really long spanned cell. Now you could actually split this address into multiple components if you want. You could have a street address with a city and a zip code and so on, but I'm just going to make it very simple. Just going to have one address. Then we're going to have a phone number, and then we're going to have an email. And let's see how this looks like. Let's switch over to our record view, and that looks pretty good. So I think we can proceed with this one. So let's go back to this, and I'm going to set the customer name, the record name, to be dynamic. So in this, if you don't set up a dynamic record name, it's going to create records with just an incremental count, like customer 1, customer 2, and so on. So in this case, let's go ahead and set an actual formula. So in that on the name, and then type in if A2, otherwise customer not set. And this is a very simple expression. What we are saying is if A2 is set, use A2 as a name, otherwise set the name to be customer not set. And now we could set up it to be however you want, but we just kind of going to be, make it a very simple formula for now. All right, and now we looks good. I'm going to go ahead and save the template. Let's save this template. Let's give it a name. So we're going to call this customer record. And let's make the icon look more interesting. Let's pick that one. Let's check the background color, maybe blue, and stores information about a customer. Let's say that. All right. So now we have a customer record that we just created. If we go ahead and now try to create a new, and then we go ahead and say record, we should have our customer record here. And now we can set up a customer record. And let's go ahead and set up first customer, John Smith. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, United Way, Austin, Texas, 363. And let's give him a phone number and an email. Okay. Now, all right, now we have our first customer. If we close this and we open up our customer, you can see that the customer record is there, and the customer record's called John Smith because of the name here. All right, we're going to go ahead and try to create a lot more customers later. So with this, I'll pause the video. All right, now we have 3 records. I have Daniel, I have Juan, and then John. All right, so now let's go ahead and open up our invoice system. And we have invoices. Now we want to replace our manually typed in customer names with something that comes from our customer lists here, customer records. So what we're going to do is actually edit this template. So let's go to the edit template right here, and it's going to open the template. And what we will do is it's going to change some of these fields over here to be dynamic. So the first thing is we'll select the cell, and right now it's a general cell. We're going to make this a cell to be a reference, and we'll select the reference cell over here. And in the template type, we're going to select the type customer record. So what's going to happen is whenever this have to type in, instead of typing in the customer name, you now have to select the customer record. Now, once you select the customer record, it's going to fill in this data, but then we want to pull the data from the customer record for the address, phone number, and email. And how do we do that? Now, if you remember previously, and I have this image from the customer record, we actually have fields from the customer record for, an address and phone number and email. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this a formula that selects the data from the selected record over here. To build the address and get the address from the invoice, what we're going to do is basically what is called as a dynamic reference. And let me explain this to you in a concept diagram. So let's go back to our invoice record, and we have an invoice record, and we're going to try to connect that with the customer record. So this 2 is going to be from a customer information right here. To do that, what we're going to do is if we're going to have the invoice, in this case, let's call this the invoice. We're going to have the customer to be selected from a customer record, and that's going to be a reference type of cell. And we want the customer address to come from the selected customer record. And we will do that using a dynamic reference. And how do we do a dynamic reference? Well, in this case, we use a formula for now, which is going to be just saying equals dynamic reference, and we're going to take the cell from which we want to select the record from which to get the data from. In this case, going to be B2. Type in the B2 as the first value, and then the second value is inside this record what data you want to pull and which location. And in this case, I've marked it down already for you. We're going to have address on A3, so we're going to type in A3, and that's your dynamic reference formula. So let's go ahead and apply that. Let's go back here, and we're going to say dynamic reference. We're going to be B2 and then A3. Now let's continue doing that for building it for phone number and email. So in this case, let's go back to our plan, and I'm going to add the phone number. And that's going to be, again, just a dynamic reference. It's going to be, again, B2. And then with the phone number is going to be A4. And we're going to do the email next. It's going to be, again, a dynamic reference. And we're going to say equals ref B2 and B4. And that's it. So we have all of our fields. So let's build this out in AnyDB. So V2, A4. And in this case, email is going to be a dynamic reference. B2, it's going to be B4. And with that, let's preview this, how it's going to look. So now we have an invoice 2, and it says double click to select. Let's double click that, and we're going to select John Smith. And as soon as you select John Smith, you can see address filled out, the phone number filled out, and the email filled out. And to delete or remove this selection, we just click on delete. So, and then I'm going to just close back this. So that looks like it's working. So we're going to save the template, and we're going to migrate all our invoices to support this particular type of record system. And let's go ahead and do it. Okay, for the next part, we're going to try to create a product record. And our product record is, again, a very simple one. It's going to have a name, a price, and a description and a code. So let's begin doing this in AnyDB. So to create that, I'm first of all going to click on new, again, create a new template, and then select from scratch a new template. And in this case, I'm going to do this real quickly. So let's I'm going to review this very quickly. We can see it looks good, and the price is going to be in dollars. You can change the currency to whatever currency you need, and let's go ahead and save this. So let's call this product record. Let's give this an icon. Let's put this one color, and let's put this below. And let's save it. Now let's create a new folder just to organize this a little better. I'm going to create a folder for products. And then let's create a new record called product record. And in this case, let's call this fittings, or let's call this pipe fittings. And price is going to be $100 each. And the code is going to be PI something. And you can see that the product has been added. Now let's go ahead and add a few more products. I'm going to pause this video for a second and add a few more products. Okay, so I have now created 4 products. Now this is stored in the products folder, but I can see all the items. Now I want to actually see some more details here. So I'm going to go ahead and start adding some information. So I'm going to add the description, the price, and maybe the code, and apply that. And you can see that's much more user friendly. I'm going to just save the view, and we're going to save that as a default view. So let's now go ahead and try to integrate our products with the invoice. So let's do the same thing that we did before. So when we open up our product record, we can see that the items we have here, the price is a D2, and that's the most important ones. And then the name is an A2, description is A3, and so on. So let's go back and mark this in the product record. So the price is going to be D2. And let's put it over here. So we now know that the product record price that we are interested in is in D2. So in this case, our invoice, if you're going to have a product that's going to be selectable from product record, which is going to be a reference cell, then the price is going to be a dynamic reference, and it's going to select the cell. In this case, let's say it's going to be A8, for example, then the price is going to be D2. And that's an example of how we can hook it up. Let's go ahead and edit the invoice template. So that to do that, we will click on Manage Templates, and there's multiple ways to open the template and edit that, but I'm going to go to Manage Templates and click on the ABC invoice, which is what we have, and we're going to click on Edit, and it's going to open the template designer. Now what we're going to do is replace these 4 fields, which you had to type in the product manually. We're going to select from the product record. And when we do that, we're going to replace the value from that product record, the price associated with that product, into these cells. So let's go ahead and change this to be a type of reference. And let's change this to be a product record. And let's keep doing that for all 4 of them. So I'm just going to quickly do this. Yeah, and there we go. All right, so now for the price, we're going to make this a dynamic reference, and we're going to refer to the reference and then the value, the price from the cell D2 from the product record. So to do that, let's go switch back here and then just make this a formula, and we're going to do this as a dynamic reference, and we're going to select the value of the product from here, which is going to be A8. And in this case, we're going to pick the price from the cell D2 inside the product record, and that's going to be a value. Now let's keep doing that, and I'm going to just quickly do that. A9, D2. Okay. Now let's test this real quick. Let's jump to record form, and you can type in, let's say, pick a record, and as soon as you pick it up, the price shows up here automatically. So that looks pretty good. And one thing we're going to do is to make all these cells non-editable. So we just select all of them and make them locked so that they are not editable. And when you select the product, the price gets populated. All right, let's go ahead and save this template and update all the data. Okay, so now that we have our invoice set up as we want, let's go ahead and try to create a new one. So let's go ahead and create a new invoice. And now you can see that the invoice is allows you to select a particular customer. So I'm going to be able to select a customer. I'm going to select, in this case, let's say John Smith. So, and as soon as we select John Smith, you can see that the address and the phone number and the email got populated from the customer record. Now we can also do this now, be able to select the products from the product table by typing in the products. And there's going to be selecting the wall clock. And I have 1. I'm going to select the coffee beans 1, and then let's select the kit set 1, and our glow, that's also 1. Now you can see that the prices got automatically populated from the from selecting the product from the product list, and the prices as well for overall totals. And now we can set the invoices to be, let's say, today, and to the due date to be, let's say, next month, and let's hit the unpaid. And now this is ready to go. So this invoice is completely done. Let's go ahead and close this. You can see now the totals are being updated in our dashboard. We have 2 invoices with the total cost of invoices as well updated. So this is how you build a much more advanced invoicing system in AnyDB. And of course, there's many more parts to the system. You can extend this to connect to an inventory system. You can connect this to, let's say, a quote system as well. But we'll cover those in future videos. So thanks for watching. See you next time.